Hello everybody. Thank you for joining Big John Getting in Shape at 58. Today we're going to be stepping into Johnnys Galley and we're going to make up something really special. This is especially like if you're fasting for Easter, or if you're just want to enjoy something new in your kitchen. We'll be working with phyllo dough. That's right, we'll be working with phyllo dough. It's a Greek pastry to wrap food in. And what we're going to make is shrimp, spinach, onion, and garlic all together wrapped up in phyllo dough, and it becomes like a little finger food. So all depending on what size you want to make yours. Depends on how you feel that you're going to serve it. So if you're going to serve it as a dinner, you make it a little bit longer. If you're going to serve it as a finger food or a snack, then you make it a little bit smaller, right? Okay, so let's get started. First thing that I do, now this is frozen shrimp that I buy at a big box store. I got a 25 count. Some of you may recognize this package of shrimp or not, but it does come deveined and shelled except for the tails. But I do not like to use pre-cooked shrimp for anything because I don't know what they do with it, right? So I put in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 shrimp. Seal the bag back up. I'm really big into sealing things right away after use, or after getting what I want to get out of it. We want to compress the air back, throw that back in the freezer. All right, so I open my phyllo. Now this I've already used some phyllo dough out of it. So one of the big problems with phyllo is that once you open the packet, it's pretty much done because it dries out. So you got to keep it from drying out by wrapping it back up. All right, so this, pull this out. It's easy to waste phyllo. If it doesn't come out of the package properly, then there's more than likely you're not going to use that piece. So take this, throw it out, try to unfold. This is very delicate pastry. So that's one. Now if your sheets come out and it has a hole in it, don't throw out the sheet. The only time you toss out a sheet is if it crumbles. All right? Because with holes, you'll be able to take care of that by either putting another sheet down or right. All right, so those are the three main ones that we're going to use today. Pull that back up. Again, this got all torn up. It's really of no use to us. We throw that out. Just fold it in half and lay it down. Now, what a lot of people do when they're using this phyllo dough is that they'll put a wet rag over the open phyllo. And then that way it stays moist and it doesn't crimp up. Now, I've already pre-chopped my onions and my garlic. I used about a baseball size onion, yellow, and 6 cloves of garlic. Put it in the food processor, chopped it up. See, so I still have it, right? All right, so we're gonna take that down. Now this is what I do with my shrimp. I run cold water on it. I run cold water on my shrimp. Just to thaw it out enough so that the tail will pop off. All right, because I don't want to wait. I don't want anybody choking on the tail. So So all I do is I take this, grab the tail, pull it off, comes off in one piece. So once I get these, just toss them into the, once I get the tails off, I just toss the shrimp into it using a bowl that I'm going to use. Since everything is going to go together, and you'll be able to wash the bowls out when you use them, comes good, right? And again, I'm just grabbing and pulling. After I wet it down, I take the shrimp, take my thumb, dig it in there, and I pull the tail. Tail comes off. And again, these are already deveined. Shelled and deveined except for tail. All right. Now these are also farmed shrimp instead of natural, so they're not going to turn as pink when they're done. But they're farmed, so they taste good, and they don't, you know, and this is just what I prefer. Okay. Put these down. Now what I do is get my knife. Then I chop the spinach. I chop the shrimp. You'll understand why in just a moment. But cut them down to about this size. Okay? Because what they're going to do is they'll go in, when I saute the onions and garlic, the shrimp's going to get in there too. And we'll saute that for about 5 minutes. And in the meantime, while we're doing that, we get the shrimp working. We start working the spinach. Okay? So again, this is just a delicious little treat or finger food or snack that you can do if you're trying to limit your chickens and try to limit your steak and, you know, beef. Shrimp's a good alternative because it's high in protein, which a lot of people don't know that about shrimp. Not only does it taste delicious, it's high in protein. So we'll get this cut up. Sometimes cutting takes less time than other times, but it is what it is. Now I'm putting it in a bowl because it makes it easier to carry over to the stove. Okay. So do that. Make sure everything is done. Then I come over here to my stove. Oh shoot, you're not going to be able to see that. Anyway. Come over to the stove, add some olive oil to my clean skillet. All right, we're getting the olive oil all spread around the skillet, just because I want it to be even, right? Okay, so now that goes back on. By the way, I have my electric stove on at 8, so it gets hot, but everything's sauteed by then. And again, I'm not using butter. Okay, my garlic and onions chopped up. I'm going to use this much, just a little less than a handful. Well, we might need some more. All right. Got that going. 3 little handfuls. Then we take the shrimp, we drop that in the skillet, and mix everything around. Now, to make the sauteing go faster, I always use a lid for my skillet, right? And I use the lid for most of my cooking. A lot of people say don't use the lid, but I just find that keeping the heat in the pan helps cook it both on the top and the bottom at the same time. You just got to remember to stir it. So this goes back in the fridge because we're not going to use that again. All right. So rinse that off. Scissors to open the spinach. So I'm not going to use the whole 1 pound bag of frozen chopped spinach. I get the spinach chopped up too. It just makes it a little bit easier for me to do. Okay, so I'm going to put this, and then I'll put about a half a bag of the spinach into my bowl. Now, if you like Greek food, then and you've gone out for it before, then you've probably had the spanakopita, the spinach pie. It's a lot like this recipe. It's spanakopita is spinach, cottage cheese, feta, and onion. So it all goes in at the same time. It's actually really good, and that's another easy to make, easier than I ever thought it was. But I've just recently started making it about 2 months ago. But again, this is the 45 days of Lent, and so as a Greek Orthodox, I can't have meat or dairy during that time. So I divert to other things, like I'll invent dishes and stuff like that. It's actually pretty fun. So now, the important thing to remember is that the shrimp is uncooked. So it's got to cook. So it's got to cook while you're doing it. You don't want to take any chances. So you cook it in the pan, and then we're going to add it to the spinach and roll it all up in the phyllo dough. So we're going to lay out one sheet. So I've got one sheet laid out, ready for this concoction. It's going to be very, very tasty. Now we're just kind of like in the middle of things. So I'm going to put this on pause while my shrimp sautés. Okay, so the shrimp and onions were just about sautéed once I hit the camera on pause. So what we're going to do, now the shrimp may be, no, it's cooked perfectly. Maybe just a tad bit raw, but that will come up in the baking when we bake the dish. So this just gets added in to the spinach. Now all I'm doing is just mixing it, using my hand to mix this up. We're going to crack an egg over it and whip it all together. And the only reason why we're doing the egg is because it helps it taste better. Oh, shoot. Back here, just cracked, got the crack starting. Put that in there. Okay, now a couple of things. When you're cooking, don't be afraid to get your hands dirty. Meaning, don't be afraid to put your hands in the food, because you're going to need to eventually anyway. But just remember that if you touch meat before you touch vegetables, then you got to wash your hands. And just hand sanitize, keep your hands sanitary so that there's no cross-contamination in the food. earlier I made my salad. All right, so now, geez, I hope you guys can see this. If not, let me get the camera a little bit closer and bring this down. Okay. Okay, so now what we're doing is we're adding the mix to our phyllo. I don't know how much of this you can see. Well, see, I touch my fingers with my teeth. I gotta wash my hands. Okay, so I'm gonna bring the camera closer. Now I'm gonna drop it down so that you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, so that's the spinach and shrimp on the phyllo dough. All right, so we're gonna keep going. We're just gonna keep this running. Sorry guys, we gotta keep it running. Okay, there we go. Now you see it. Okay, so this is the spinach. It's right in the middle of the thing. So what I do is I take this, fold it over, and I fold this up. Then I just roll it. Sorry, my back's in the way. And I roll it and roll it and roll it. All right. All right. This, because we're going to bake it in the toaster oven, because I'm not making a lot of it. So this one goes there. And what we're going to do is after we get them all rolled up, we're going to seal them down with some olive oil. We'll brush some olive oil on it. And that'll seal the phyllo, and we'll be able to cook. Okay, so if it's broken or tattered, like this sheet is, I'm just putting the tattered end down at the bottom so that when I roll this mix up in it, the tatters get covered. Does that make sense? I'm sure it does. Okay, so I fold it, and I take the bottom and fold it up over top of the mix. Now I'll just roll it. Okay. Now mind you, if you have any stuffing left over from when you're doing these, which the stuffing is the spinach and the shrimp and the onion and the garlic, you throw that into a scrambled egg or a straight out omelet in the morning, man, you got some good eats right there on top of you. All right. So it looks like we have enough stuffing for one more roll, maybe two. Okay. Now whether you have one sheet or two, like this one has two, it doesn't matter. You just do it the same way. Now the really cool thing about this is that if it's too wide or you want to make smaller pieces of this, just use a knife or a pizza cutter and cut the dough in half. Lengthwise, of course. And that's all you have to do. Then you have your size that you want. Okay, so now, since I have 2 sheets, I'm making this a little bit more plump. Okay, so you see I just layered it in, not all the way at the bottom, okay, because you want to fold over the bottom. So now we fold over the sides, we fold over the bottom, then we fold it over the sides, now we fold over the bottom, and then we roll it. And we take that, put it on the tray. I think we can squeeze one more in. This will be the last roll. See though, even though it tore, I'm going to make it work for this last one by overlapping the 2 pieces. Doesn't look perfect, but the end result will be a great treat after it's baked and everything. So, let's get to it. Last little handful of the stuffing, get it in there, fold over, fold the bottom over, roll it up. Kind of like you're rolling up a cigar, but a lot looser. All right. Who knows where the references come from? They just come to my head, so bing and a boom, right? Okay, so now we're going to raise the camera up. And push this back. Okay, so I'm going to take the tray and put it back over here, so that y'all can see this. Now, what I was talking about, swabbing this stuff in, lightly swabbing these with olive oil. The olive oil, you don't need to, or, now some people use avocado oil and so forth, but, quite honestly, avocado oil is a lot more expensive than olive oil. And I prefer the taste of olive oil. But what it does for the phyllo is that it'll enable you to, it'll help it brown better instead of just dry up and burn. Okay, so this is olive oil in the tube. Let's put a little bit in the bowl. I get my pastry brush. Hit that like that. And then I just open it up a little bit, put some down, then lay the phyllo back on it. Okay? All right, see? See how we opened it up? You spread the olive oil on the insides, close it up, and it seals it. Then you can put it on top. Same thing, you just do all of them the same way. Okay, seal it up. So we're going to move the camera closer so you guys can see what the heck I'm doing. There we go. Okay, so this is a piece. And open it up. Now do that gently so it doesn't tear off. Okay. Olive oil on this side. Olive oil on the open side. Close it up. And shoot, if you want to use vegetable oil, just any kind, go ahead and use vegetable oil, whatever you want. Okay. Then you put a little bit more on the outside. And then one more on this one. All right, close it up. Spread some olive oil on it. Okay. Okay, now we're going to cook this in my toaster oven. And the setting's going to be put it on bake. Turn it to 400. Open this up. And we're going to slide these in. And we're going to slide these in there. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know, you can only eat so many of them yourself, so I'll be saving a lot of these. But I just slide it into the oven. And we're going to let that cook for 15 to 20 minutes. And then what'll come out is some really good food. Okay, at first, these beautiful rolls were put in the oven at 400. I did lower it down to 325, because I saw the tops got a little bit browned out. But all looks good, and we're about to take them out of the oven after cooking for 20 minutes, after baking for 20 minutes. Okay, so this comes down. Now, before we turn off the oven, we're going to go ahead and cut one of these open and give it a try and make sure that it's cooked all the way. So we're going to go ahead and cut this guy open. Okay. Wow. Wow, guys, this tastes really good. And let's see if I can lift this up. Okay, and as you can see, all the layers of the phyllo dough are cooked. Spinach is cooked. Everything's cooked, and it's all good. And it's all good. So, guys, gals, thank you for joining me. This is Big John, getting in shape at 58. And do the right thing. It's quitting time.